notably 4 years ago today, in a move a judge deemed retaliatory for refusing to back off publishing a book about Donald Trump. It's where we start the hour with the aforementioned Michael Cohen, host of the Mea Culpa and Political Beatdown podcast, author of the books Disloyal and Revenge, How Donald Trump Weaponized the U.S. Department of Justice Against His Critics. Michael Cohen, it's great to see you.
Good to see you, Nicole.
I feel like we are sort of sleepwalking into this false notion that what Trump promises in a second term is new. It's not. It's what he successfully did in a first term, which is to prosecute and jail people who threaten him, people he deems his rivals or opponents, people like you. Tell us what happened 4 years ago today.
People like you too, Nicole, and the president of your MSNBC station. Donald has been very clear about his enemies list. And there are many people on it, including folks like Mark Zuckerberg. What they did is they lured me down to 500 Pearl Street, and they provided me, and I showed this on your program a couple of weeks back. They presented myself and a friend of mine who's a lawyer, Jeffrey K. Levine, who I asked to join me because something just seemed terribly amiss. And they gave us this 2-page document that is filled with syntax and grammatical and spacing errors. And the very first paragraph is a complete and total violation of my First Amendment constitutional right, in that it prohibited me from speaking to the media, publishing a book, doing television, anything, including friends and family were supposed to be warned not to discuss anything to do with me because it would glamorize a federal inmate who is on confinement status. It was an absolute ridiculous paragraph, again, that was drafted for me. And how do we know this 2-page document was drafted for me? Because it does not contain a federal identifiable number to it, whereas the real one clearly does. Well, when I refused to sign it and asked that they tamp down the language because my book, Disloyal at the time, was already with the printer, what they did is instead they had a guy named Patrick McFarland, who's an RRM, over at a residential reentry manager over at MDC Correctional Facility, sign a remand order, and they had me taken into custody by 3 marshals who handcuffed and shackled me. And I say this not in order to glamorize what happened to me, but really to send a message to the American people. Something I've been yelling from the rooftops, from every single platform that I can, that my biggest fear is that what they did to me, they will do to you. Donald already has a blueprint of what he needs to do, and that's weaponizing the Department of Justice, weaponizing government, which he said he was also going to do. Every person that works in government will be working not for the United States government, but for him. And they will be required to sign a loyalty pledge to him, meaning there will be no opportunity to file, as I did through my other lawyer, Danya Perry, a habeas corpus petition that had me released from the 16-day solitary confinement, bringing it to a total of 51 days of solitary confinement. Nobody will have that option again if Donald Trump ends up in the White House.
What impact, I mean, you know the inside of his brain in terms of his desire to stay just on the other side of criminality, to stay out of jail, to avoid what Chris Christie used to say, the clink of the door. The Supreme Court wiped away that check on his worst impulses by granting him absolute immunity. What do you think he's capable of?
Absolutely anything and everything. You allow your mind to wander into the farthest level of dystopia, and then you will finally get a small glimpse into just how far that he will push this. Look, I want to be clear about this. What he did to me is absurd. It made me the very first political prisoner held by my own country, by the United States of America, for refusing to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. The Supreme Court decision just gave him immunity from prosecution on this by claiming, and you'll have to do it on an ad hoc basis, by claiming that this was a presidential act, that it was done in furtherance of the office of presidency. There is no limit to what he and his sycophants that will be there in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue will be successful in at least attempting to do.
Michael, he's talked about a televised military tribunal for Liz Cheney. People laugh it off. What do you think when you hear that?
I tell you not to laugh. There is not, first of all, there's nothing funny about it. There's nothing funny about a man who is seeking the highest office in our land, who would, in essence, again, be the most powerful person on the planet. And he's talking about military tribunals. He's talking about public executions. He's talking about using SEAL Team 6 within which to go into, round up his political enemies and opponents and in jail, incarcerate them the way that he wants them to do it. Now, in order to help to stop this sort of movement, tomorrow, in fact, in the morning, my lawyers are going to be filing a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States in order to hear the case Michael Cohen versus United States of America. Because in that case, that's the habeas corpus petition that Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein deemed that the actions of Trump, the administration, Bill Barr, DOJ was retaliatory. I don't think people understand the term enough, and I don't think it gets enough play. Certainly not by this White House, that's the Biden White House. It was retaliatory by an evil and vindictive individual who will seek to do this again and again and again. And again, because of the Supreme Court decision, he will have unlimited authority and power. Whether it's true or not, he will feel that he does, and he will take advantage of every single avenue that he possibly can. And my statement that I say to everyone, including Joe Biden and his family, including Hunter Biden, including you, including Mark Zuckerberg, including Elon Musk, including members of the Supreme Court themselves, be warned. Be very warned.
Say more. Be warned of what? I mean, it's in Project 2025. What people get wrong is how far he got in a first term. You were imprisoned. Andy McCabe was investigated. Jim Comey, with the wise counsel of David Kelly, a frequent guest on this program, especially during the Trump trial in New York, was his lawyer for years as he was under criminal scrutiny. The IRS carried out 2 incredibly invasive investigations into Andy McCabe and Jim Comey. There were wiretaps on Adam Schiff's phone. There were wiretaps on journalists from the New York Times. And that's just what we found out about at the end. Say more about what exactly he would do and to whom.
Well, to who would be anybody that creates some ire, whether you say something derogatory, whether you try to speak truth to power, whatever it is that you do, you're going to have to think twice about whether or not it is worth it for you to speak this truth to power, or to write about this truth to power, or to report about this truth to power, for fear, for absolute fear that in the middle of the night, SEAL Team 6 shows up to your home, knocks down your door, bags you, tags you, and sends you someplace like to Guantanamo Bay. A lot of people make fun of Donald Trump and they say, oh, this is all hyperbolic. It's nonsense. He's not sending SEAL Team 6. He's going to send MEAL Team 6 to come in to deliver a Mar-a-Lago burger. No, there's nothing funny here. There's no joking around. We are on the brink of losing our democracy, our democratic republic, because the man has absolutely figured out what it's going to take in order to dismantle our democratic system, our democracy, to dismantle the Constitution. So when he tells you, not me saying it, not you, Nicolle, when Donald Trump tells you that he intends to destroy our tripartite system of government, he's going to do away with the legislative branch and the judiciary and confer all power onto himself through the executive branch. I don't know why there is a single person in America, regardless of Republican, Democrat, or Independent, that is willing to turn around and to lose this 249-year experiment that is the beacon of the world. It is everything that everybody wants to be. We are the beacon that shines brightest on top of the mountain. These folks are willing to give this up to a man who is a con man, as the Al Jazeera article put it. This is a guy who makes the guy who was selling the Brooklyn Bridge and the other bridges, 100 years ago, makes him look like a novice, like a baby. He is no baby. He knows exactly what he's doing. And my warning to everyone again, all right, be scared, be nervous, and make sure, if you really do care about democracy, that you are fully registered to vote come November, and you vote Democrat straight down the ballot.
Michael Cohen, I feel like there's one more thing that I want to have you sort of explain and articulate, and that is, as someone who was once under the Trump umbrella, what is the lure? Why do you think Trump is ahead in just about every battleground state?
Yeah, first of all, I don't know if all those polls are exactly accurate. You don't know how people are going to react when they are alone with their conscience. If you are a woman, or if you are the spouse, or you have a daughter, or you have a niece, or there's a woman in your life, maybe your mom, that you actually care about, and you want to preserve a woman's right to choose her own reproductive decision making. How do you vote for the guy who has the 900-plus page manifesto that says that this should be a reenactment of The Handmaid's Tale, that this should go back to some white Christian nationalist ideology? I don't understand how that happens. So you will be by yourself in a voting booth making a decision that doesn't just affect you, but it affects many generations to come. So why are people in the spell? It's such a great question. What he does is he speaks like a popularist. And there's a lot of disenfranchised people in this country. They feel dejected and rejected by the system, that they're having hard times. Many of them also happen to just be racist, and that they are fearful of brown and black people, because they want to continue with their white privilege, and they feel that that's being lost as well. There's a multitude of reasons why people are joining this Trump cult, why they stay with it, despite the fact that they have these racist, sexist, misogynistic tendencies, these xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic tropes and beliefs. I don't have an answer to it, but I will tell you what took me out of it, and took me out very quickly, was the notion I'm going to jail for another man's dirty deeds. And you may remember I said to George Stephanopoulos that my wife, my daughter, my son, and my country have my first loyalty and always will. And I'm saying to each and every one of your listeners, including the ones that are actually Republicans or MAGAs, your loyalty belongs to your family and to your country. And you need to make sure that Donald Trump never gets anywhere near the front door of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Clear and powerful ringing of the bell from you, my friend. Michael Cohen, let's make this a regular thing. Thank you for starting us off today.
Anytime. Thanks, Nicolle.
Thank you. Let me, before we get to break, let me just quickly bring in former U.S. Attorney, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman. And